So we just filmed 24 pieces of content for one client in 2.5 days. That works out as 8 long-form videos, 16 shorts, plus dozens of B-roll clips and thumbnail images. Enough content for nearly 2 months worth of weekly YouTube releases. And in this video, you'll learn the exact system that we used at Humble&Brag to pull it all off. Now, first up, here's what most people don't understand. Those 2.5 days of filming, that's just one part of the machine. There's typically extensive planning before production and significant work after. The client usually only gets to see the fun part, the cameras, the lights, and then the finished video. What they don't see is the 6-week process either side that makes it possible. In this specific example that I'll share, we were working with a German language healthcare client with added layers of complexity. Everything in the videos needed near clinical accuracy, and every claim had to be verified by qualified experts before filming. Now, before I break down this system and the 7 stages of this mammoth production, let me explain how we split the work. Typically, my co-founder Ed handles most of the tasks pre-production, including the onboarding of the client, research, strategy, and scripting coordination, while typically I handle the production and post-production as well as the YouTube backend. We both monitor analytics and optimize for performance post-launch, tweaking and testing the thumbnails, titles, and reporting the results back to the clients. We've learned that this division is crucial though. You need someone focused on what makes the content work, and someone that's obsessed with making it look and sound on point. So now I'm going to open up the 7-stage process and share with you an overview of the tasks and responsibilities required throughout this project. Stage number 1, research and strategy, and typically we'd allocate between 1 and 2 weeks for this. Now, with most of our new client projects, we tend to start with a strategy workshop, asking the client fairly broad questions about the company, their audience, and their ambitions and direction when it comes to YouTube. We then filter all this down into specific content ideas and formats. We analyze the client's competitors, study what seems to be working in their niche, and examine the client's other successful marketing channels. For this client in particular, we had a major advantage. This wasn't our first batch of content with them. We'd already released 16 videos previously, with 7 or 8 of those videos already performing strongly. That gave us proprietary data to work with, covering suggested video insights, retention patterns, and the topics that actually resonated with their audience. The metric that mattered the most here is that we had specific click-through rates and watch times from previous videos, showing us exactly what had worked and what could be improved upon. It's important here not to rely purely on competitor analysis for established channels. Your own YouTube analytics data is gold, so you should refer to it often and inform your next round of videos. The output of this strategy workshop was a document with 24 prioritized titles, 8 long-form videos with 16 related shorts that would amplify the main content already on the channel. And that leads me nicely on to stage 2, scripting. And this would typically take around 2 to 3 weeks. Now, in this instance, the client handled scripting internally with our guidance. It was a significant decision that saved costs, but required careful management on both sides. We wrote 8 example shorts to show them the structure and retention techniques we'd like to see. Then the client emulated that format for the rest of the material. Every script went through multiple rounds of feedback with the various department heads and the on-screen camera talent, who also doubled as the subject matter experts here for a final sign-off. Now, deadlines around scripting are key. In our case, everything was signed off at least 1 week before filming. This gives the presenters time to familiarize themselves with the script, which also dramatically reduces filming time and the amount of retakes on the production days. So an important action point here is that we needed at least 1 month start to finish to maintain quality and give the talent proper preparation time, as healthcare content in particular requires extra levels of scrutiny and accuracy. Every claim gets checked, and on a larger production like this, I've always advocated for budgeting more time than you'd think you might need for the feedback loops, especially if you're working with a client for the first time. In our experience, batching production only works if scripting is done well in advance. You can't improvise 24 videos differently on the day, nor is it advisable to edit and proof the scripts as you capture them in real time. Moving on to stage 3, we look at the talent and the set preparations. This typically takes around 2 to 3 days. Now the logistics intensify. In the 3rd step, we brief the talent on the various video production aspects. Things like what to wear, when to show up, what the production day agenda will be like, and we always create detailed shot lists and plan the day's schedule in full, including lunch breaks and travel times home. Why? Well, often most of the talent we work with have never been on camera before, so they're a little bit nervous, and with a clear agenda and a warm introduction, this reduces the anxiety and improves performance on camera. Building in breaks for refreshments, lunch, and some fresh air really help. We also plan in the B-roll scenes at this stage, and for this shoot, that meant buying in fresh groceries to act as props on these food-focused shorts, scouting outdoor locations, and preparing a selection of sets and backdrops. As we'd worked together already, the client wanted a cleaner, brighter look than on the first shoots together, so we changed the backdrops to brighter walls, increased the lighting levels, and created an aesthetic more in line with what you'd expect from a trusted healthcare brand. This took several hours of planning and setup, but transformed our studio space. To give you an idea, this stage typically required around 2 to 3 days of planning and prep work, mostly condensed into the 2 days before the production. But we never underestimate the importance of set dressing for brand-conscious clientele. What looks usable to you as a producer might not match their identity or their preferred aesthetic, so it's always important to check in. That leads me on to stage 4, production setup, and this typically takes 2 to 4 hours, depending on the complexity of the shoots. On the production days, I typically arrive hours before the client, sometimes spending time in the studio the evening before for more complex shoots. But here's what typically happens in those hours. I typically rig 2 cameras and adjust the framing and composition of each. 2 cameras often gives our editors more options to play with in the edit and gives the viewer a more interesting range of shots when watching the content back. I set up a 3-point lighting rig as standard and configure the audio setup. We usually use a high-end boom mic above the talent, but for multiple presenters we also have dynamic microphones and lapel mics, covering us for different formats. Importantly, I always format the memory cards so everything is clean and optimized for the shoots. And lastly, I create folder structures on my laptop and the hard drives for organized file management and the quick transfer and storage of the footage we capture. Why do we arrive so early on the shoot days? Well, because when the client walks in, they should see a professional setup like this that's ready to go. There's no scrambling around with cables or lights. They just come in and we're ready to roll. It's also just respectful of everyone's time. Technical delays at the start of shoots kill momentum and increase the talent's anxiety. Doing the technical work well beforehand and troubleshooting any issues ensures a sense of professionalism and trust is built up between us and our clients. Stage 5, filming at scale. And as I mentioned at the start of this video, we did this in 2.5 days. And here's how we structured the actual filming, segmenting the content into a range of morning and afternoon sessions across the 2.5 days. On day 1, we captured 6 long-form videos, roughly 90 minutes each for the first 2, including setup, and then about 60 minutes each as we hit our rhythm later in the day. In total, we spent about 7 hours worth of time on focused filming. On the morning of day 2, we finished the remaining 2 long forms, taking around 2 to 3 hours to do so. And then on the afternoon of day 2, we batched all 16 shorts with different talent in a 2 to 3 hour block. We shot 8 shorts with one presenter, switched the talent around, and then shot 8 more with another presenter. And then lastly, on day 3, we captured the B-roll and any spillover content and experimental formats we might have missed, like capturing a Q&A episode that we can cut into additional long-form videos and also a variety of shorts. And just a critical insight about the shorts here, they're deceptively time-consuming. Each short needs a visual hook, a scripted hook, and some kind of text overlay to be signed off in advance. For the food-related content we captured, we stacked vegetables into the frame and then rolled through them shot by shot for the visual interest elements. For a 40 to 60 second short, that's a substantial amount of prep time. Batching by format, so all the long forms and then all the shorts, saved hours. Context switching typically on a production day kills efficiency and often requires the camera to be set up and reset up multiple times. And keep in mind through all of this that talent fatigue is real. After 7 hours of camera on the first 2 days, people are starting to feel a bit drained, physically and mentally. Coming back to my earlier step, it's important to build in breaks and realistic timelines. Pushing too hard to capture all the content degrades performance and creates a fairly miserable number of shoot days for the talent involved, leading to diminishing returns for everyone. One often missed point that we've learned over dozens of shoots now, when you pride yourself on speed and efficiency, you risk losing some of that creative spark. We've learned to build in moments for format experimentation, even in batched shoots. If you don't factor this in, you can easily fall into a rather formulaic rut, making content that ultimately bore your client and their audience. It's much easier to film a dozen shorts to camera with one setup, sure, but ultimately that leads to poorer performance further down the line. Next up we have stage 6, which is the editing and brand packaging. And this typically takes around 4 to 5 days per long form video. Okay, so after filming, all the footage goes to Dropbox. That file and folder system I mentioned earlier in the video gets hit quite hard. We back up all the footage after every video is complete, swapping out the cards and the cameras on a rolling basis. This means any file transfer times don't block the actual production flow, and we can start uploading to the cloud storage much earlier. Our remote editors then download the assets from Dropbox and begin work on the edits. We've also now built in a reusable motion graphics brand pack, which houses templates for graphics, titles, animations, and this can all be customized per client, changing out brand colors, typography, and other elements on a case-by-case basis. This saves us a lot of time and passes on savings to our clients as well. It also ensures that we maintain consistency and quality across all the videos we produce. Now, I've learned that editing is one of those things that unfortunately just takes as long as it takes. That said, we optimize the process by using template systems and efficient feedback loops, not by rushing our editors. We often factor in at least 4 to 5 days per long-form video to reach the first shareable cut, and then we hold 2 feedback rounds, one for major structural changes and one for minor refinements like color correction or brand elements that need further tweaking. The client is able to leave timestamped feedback or annotations in Dropbox Replay, which is our favorite feedback tool of choice, and can easily review the link and share it around all the concerned stakeholders. For this project, we created more of a buffer as well, delivering 2 long-form videos and 4 shorts upfront, giving us nearly 2 weeks of lead time before the weekly releases began to roll out. And that brings me on to stage 7, the publishing and optimization. Uploading to YouTube is a straightforward process, but there are a number of moving parts. And the optimization of these parts is where many creators or channels fail. We regularly deploy AI tools to help us generate descriptions from optimized templates we've put together, as well as SEO optimized chapter markers from the video transcripts. We then create 3 thumbnail variants as standard to ABC test and iterate on the winning creative over time. We also add tracking links, or UTMs for all the marketers out there, to measure and attribute business impact on each video. Now, a crucial step here that most agencies miss, we usually need to integrate with the client's other marketing channels. If they have a large email list, for example, or a large LinkedIn following, or Instagram presence, those audiences should really help drive initial views and start supporting the channel, particularly when starting out on YouTube. For companies, not just individual creators, cross-channel promotion accelerates your growth dramatically. At Humble&Brag, we also become admins on our clients' channels, getting access to the analytics and the backend, and we check the analytics dashboards daily. Not obsessively, but usually just 5 to 10 minutes every morning with a coffee. This keeps us kind of plugged into performance patterns. When something underperforms, for example a video with high watch time but low CTR, we can swap out the thumbnail. When something overperforms, we mine the suggested video data for our next round of video topics. Daily monitoring typically beats out monthly deep dives. And familiarity with our clients' data lets us spot the opportunities immediately and identify topics that have really resonated well with your audience. And on this specific topic, I want to share a key learning with you that covers all of our client briefs. And that is that YouTube success for brands often relies on integration with existing marketing channels. Don't treat it as an isolated channel, leverage every audience and platform you already have to fast track your success. So now we've covered this 7-step process, and as you can see, there's quite a lot that goes into a 2.5-day filming period. This can be easily scaled up or down though, depending on the volume of the content you want to capture. In this instance, this system gave our client 2 months worth of weekly video content from around 2.5 days of filming. A consistent brand presence with 1 long form and 2 shorts per week, and smooth workflows that can now be replicated every 8 to 10 weeks, restocking the content backlog as required, as well as cross-platform repurposing for Instagram Reels, LinkedIn, and other marketing channels. The batch production model is the only way this works economically, both for us as the YouTube agency and for our client. Filming 1 video at a time, week on week, would require the client to be on set and on call near weekly, which is simply unsustainable for most clients that we've worked with so far. Okay, so to package all this up, here are the 3 golden rules I want to quickly reiterate on in terms of the learnings behind this system. It's important to use your own channel's data. After your first batch of content comes out, mine YouTube analytics obsessively. Suggested videos and the traffic sources tell you exactly what to make next. Secondly, batch everything. Not just the filming, but batch the scripting, batch the thumbnail creation, batch the uploads. Context switching when you're in this process often destroys efficiency and your productivity. And lastly, prepare your talent thoroughly. Scripts are signed off 1 week early, there's detailed shot lists and clear schedules. Nervous presenters waste time, and comfortable ones perform brilliantly. Through all of this, there's one thing to focus on. Don't let this systemization and batch production kill your creativity. We've learned to build in experimental formats, even during batch shoots, featuring new angles, different structures, and new concepts to test. Otherwise, you create efficient but slightly boring and easy to produce content. So if you're still watching at this stage, thank you very much. If you want our detailed production-ready checklist with all the timeframes and points listed above, you can find that linked in the description. And if you found this breakful valuable, let us know which stage you'd like us to explore deeper in a future video. Now, before I go, keep in mind that producing 24 videos in 2.5 days sounds like a lot, and it is, but with the right system, it's repeatable. The secret isn't speed during filming, it's very much the weeks of preparation either side that make those filming days effortless. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.